Kurdistan just a few days ago. We were on the front lines with the Peshmerga, the Kurdish military, and we were literally about 500 meters to a kilometer away from the front lines of ISIS. And right now, in many ways, it's a static line. I mean, they have regained most of the territory the Kurds lost originally when ISIS came in, but they haven't advanced a whole lot except maybe in the west with what's called the PKK. But I think one thing that the Kurds were telling us, please give us the arms and weapons that we need to fight ISIS. And they're really not getting the arms and the weapons they've asked for more than a year from the United States. And that's the first thing. The other thing, we went to a Yazidi refugee camp. You know, the Yazidis actually were treated worse than the Christians because ISIS believes that they are not a religion of the book. So they were given two choices, convert or die. We went to a refugee camp with maybe 20,000 Yazidis. And we had really, you could sort of tell their story through the eyes of two people. We interviewed a 19-year-old girl that had been a sex slave for nearly 8 months, sold for $800 to an Arab man. And we had talked to a 14-year-old boy who again was captured by ISIS, was being trained to be a young jihadi. He was 1 year away from actually being trained in weapons, but they accused of him having a blasphemer, having a false religion, and they began to teach him the Quran. And so there's really a generation being raised up inside ISIS-controlled territory for a new generation of jihadis. And we also had the opportunity to talk to many of the Christians there, Christians that had fled ISIS. Some are evangelicals that are living in many of the neighborhoods of Erbil. And we also went to a refugee camp, and we sat, this was mainly Catholic Christians who were in that camp. But they really, after a year, they're getting discouraged. They don't want to stay in Iraq or Kurdistan. They want to leave. They want to have a productive life.
You know, Chris, there was something you had mentioned before about the highway. Mm-hmm. The Bible in Isaiah talks about the highway from Assyria through That's Israel right. to Egypt, and about someone had talked about the counterfeit highway.
Exactly, a counterfeit highway being built by Iran. I mean, it says in Isaiah 19 about a highway between Assyria, Israel, and Egypt. That was something the Lord himself was going to build, which is actually kind of being built now with all these houses of prayer along this. But as a counterfeit, it almost seems like Iran is trying to build this bridge between Iran, through Iraq, to Syria, Lebanon right now, and it's sort of like a counterfeit of what the Lord proposes. And I think that, again, is sort of the spiritual underpinnings of much of the conflict going on in the Middle East today. So Julie, John, thanks for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about this as time goes on.